Hi, everybody. I want to just welcome everybody in and get right to it. So let me add the girls to the stream. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
How
Oh,
are
your
you, ladies?
avatars look adorable. I love you. Did no, you're using the wrong ones. Go change them now. I fixed them
I
for you.
was
Where they're the black and white ones, so we could all match. Silly girls.
Oh, I didn't know
well,
you.
I was wondering. Me too. I was wondering if that would work because they were like in the circle. But here, let me go. I'm gonna go
They
fix
will
mine.
work.
I'll be right back.
They'll work. You'll just have the
Okay.
little
All right.
white ring.
Let
BRB.
me go.
Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We were supposed to be coordinated, girls. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Hello,
I'm
chat,
I am
everyone.
good. I'm good.
Okay, so
Ah,
let me back out and I'll be
all
right back.
right. All right. I'll say hi to everybody and do the all the welcomes. All right. Hi, everybody. So, if you looked at the thumbnail before you came in, I made me and Allie and Truth Teller different avatars so we would all match. And so, yeah, so I sent those to the girls, and that's what that's they're gonna go fix it. And before we get started, I want to tell you guys all thank you so much for being here. I added Adrian to the I gave you a wrench, Adrian, so good luck. We hardly ever have to use it on this channel. Um, so welcome, and thank you for offering to help. Also, I want to give you guys a word from our sponsors really quick tonight. We have two. So let's hear from them right quick. Kay.
And Kai, when you're on Jen Lou's channel, what do you do with the like button?
Smash, smash, smash! Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's not the right one. This.
She's abusive. I couldn't fucking stand up to that woman.
All right. So
That's better.
basically, oh, look how adorable you guys look. I love it.
I had to screenshot it, and then because on my side it was like I have to reformat it. It said it has to be a JPEG, or I don't know. I guess I saved it wrong, so I just screenshot it and and then did it. I love this version better though because the eyes and then the blunt they're both
Yes,
colored.
I do too. I look so fancy.
you are fancy AF, both of you ladies, just like you should be.
Highfalutin.
We are highfalutin. All right. So I wanted this one is not that long of a analysis. It's only like maybe an hour, but they also analyze Natalia's, which I'm curious about because there isn't a whole lot of interviews with her. So I'm curious what they used to analyze her. But I want to get into old Michael Barnett and his crazy ass. I mean, look, I don't know. Have y'all watched? TT, did you get to watch
Let me tell you, I have before this series ever came out, I did a deep dive into this like 3 or 4 years ago. It's a whole mess.
a whole mess? And he is a whole mess.
He is. Could you imagine being his wife? And I would be so cringed out by him.
I couldn't imagine being in a room with him for more than 5 minutes and not saying something. I'd have
No,
to say something like, quit your blubbering, man. This is not
no,
this is not time to cry.
no.
See, I'm really fuzzy on details. I don't know much about it, but I did back in the day when I watched them on Dr. Phil. I remember watching that, and like I've watched you, Jen, talk about it. I haven't seen the new series yet, but Yeah, I have seen
I
some of
forget
it.
how I got turned on to it. It seems like there was people were talking about the real, because I had seen the movie The Orphan, and they were talking about the real life connection. I think that's how she actually came to hit headlines, wasn't it? Was because I know that movie wasn't made about her per se, but I think
Pretty much everybody was essentially referring to her as the real life
right,
orphan,
right.
which I never. Oh crap! You know what? I forgot to update my Nightbot. Can one of the mods do me a big favor, please, and put Truth Teller's channel in the chat for me, please? Her link, because I forgot to. I knew I was forgetting to do something today. Damn it! I'm sorry,
No,
Jen.
you're good. You're good.
Oh, thank you, Carol Claus. Carol gifted a membership. Yay!
Oh, thank you, Carol
Thank
freaking
you,
Claus.
Carol.
I was going to say something. I totally lost. Oh, yeah. I actually did. I thought the movie was based off of the case. And then Patricia actually told me the other day that she believes that they copied the movie, the parents, because she doesn't believe that Natalia's an adult or anything, I think. But I don't know. It's really interesting. So curious to know what you guys think.
So you're right that the movie came out before they adopted Natalia.
Did it?
Yeah, most people believe. Okay, I'm going to look just to be sure, because there's two orphans. The first one that came out all that time ago, and then there's the newer one that came
Yeah,
out
the
like
newer
in
one is
2022, which I watched when it came out, and it's all right.
No,
the
wait a
whole
minute. I
thing.
didn't know there was a new one. I'm talking about the one with the little creepy. I don't know any of their real names that was in it. But the one that
Yeah,
came out in maybe like 2009, 2010, maybe.
Yeah, there's two. There's a
they
sequel.
just, yeah.
They made a sequel to Orphan, and it's called First Kill. But
I
the
think it's on Peacock
it
or
is on
something.
Peacock. But
Yeah.
the original one came out in 2009, and Michael and Christine adopted Natalia in 2010. So
Here, I'll get
I've
TT's
always
channel.
I've always kind of thought that they modeled their story after the Orphan. Oh, thank you, B Crumbs, for gifting a membership. What happened? It all of a sudden went very quiet.
I hear you.
Okay. All right. So
I
yeah.
muted. Whitney came out here playing music, and then I muted, so that's probably how it got really quiet and from really loud.
So I personally don't believe that the family, adapted that to that, that story as their own. I don't, or adopted that story as their own. I think based on what little bit we've talked about it, Jen, I think you and I are going to be on total opposite ends.
Of course, because aren't we always?
we always are.
Which channel for Truth Teller do you guys want me to drop?
Do the true crime one.
Okay.
You can either one. It doesn't matter.
No, don't put that dumpster fire over here.
I like your dumpster fire. I need to add it to Nightbot cement shoes, so that all y'all have to do is hit ! Truth Teller. So yeah, that way it'll be easier. I just forgot today. Thanks, babe. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
You're welcome, you guys. There's another channel like this man that his name is Truth Teller, and he has, let me see, he has like a kind of big 124,000. So when you search it, he and all of his videos like flood the, so it's hard to find unless you go to it often or whatever.
Yeah.
It seems a few people know about the dumpster fire.
Yes.
So let me just say, don't put it in here. I'm not saying put it in. Don't put it in here. If y'all happen to run across the dumpster fire, you're all welcome there, but we're not going to advertise it.
Oh my God. It's table talk.
Oh God.
Just search table talk there. That's a compromise. It's totally like I said it, but you still got to do a little of your own work. All right. All right. So I guess let's get started and see what the behavior panel has to say. Well, you're not going to
Have
talk
you
about
have you already
diagnoses?
like? Do you know like
No.
already what was said, or are we watching it together for the
We're
first time?
watching it together for the first time. Y'all know me. I like to do it off the cuff. I don't want to have nothing prepared. This is why my lives are scattered everywhere because I like to just see what's what.
Gotcha.
So for me, this is what I think personally. I don't think that either side is telling 100% gospel truth.
I don't
I
either.
think
I agree.
this is what I think. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I can't quite say for certain if I think that Natalia is a little bit more aware of her backstory than she pretends to be.
Right.
But I also think that I do think that on some level, she was likely coached from the adoption agency to age herself down.
I do too. We may be
So
closer than I thought,
yeah,
Jen.
I think that I never think that these stories are very rarely do am I like 100 on one side, team and then totally the opposite, you know what I'm saying? I usually find that the truth is somewhere in the middle of both of the stories. And there was a moment when I was watching Dr. Phil's interview with Natalia that she smirked. And
Yes, I saw that. It was creepy. Oh,
yes, and the thing about it is Dr. Phil was being facetious. He was asking a facetious question. It was very tongue in cheek. But it is the way but he basically asked her, "Are you, a demon dwarf sent here to terrorize this family?" That's pretty much what his question was.
right.
And while the tone of his question was being facetious, the fact of the matter is, if if somebody were asking me a question like that and I was trying to convince people that, look, these fools is crazy. I am not, I mean, I might have like a little crazy, but they're really crazy. I'm the one telling the truth here. It was the way that she smirked. It wasn't just the fact that she did it. It was the
Yes.
way she did it. And I've got to find a very creative way to clip that for y'all so I can show you, because Dr. Phil's team likes to be giving people copyright claims. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to do it. That's the question that he asked Corey. So yeah, it was just weird. And it was the face that she made. It wasn't just the smirk. It was
It
just the
was
face.
just was evil to me. I just saw evil.
Yeah. And I mean, the new family that she lives with is like, oh, she doesn't do anything like that with us, blah, 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 blah. Well, I mean, she's kind of run out of places to go and she does
Right.
need help. So if it were me and I was, like I am a heathen, but I know when it's time to behave and I can behave when it's appropriate. I might have to like excuse myself and act a fool for a minute out of the view of other people and then come back after I've gotten myself together and gotten it out of my system. But I can behave. I got home training, you know?
Hey, before we get started, I wanted to tell you, Corky and Carol Claus gifted a membership.
Oh, thank you both so much. I appreciate that.
My
I like them
takeaway
all.
from the whole series was that they're all freaking nuts. All three of them. All three of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all. I don't think anybody in this case. Anybody. No, I'm not talking about the neighbors from her first apartment complex. And the only reason I give them any credence whatsoever is because they're not facing any charges, so they have
Right.
zero reason to lie.
Yeah, the neighbors from the apartments and things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that was what solidified it for me as far as Natalia doing all these things is because too many people had the same stories, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, B Crumbs, too, for gifting memberships. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And oh, I have to tell you guys this too before we start. One of the things that sort of okay, so I watched the whole Dr. Phil. Now I understand that Dr. Phil spends more time with his guests than we actually see. They condense this long amount of time that they're being interviewed on stage and whatnot, um, down to the show. I get it, but that's not enough amount of a time, in my opinion, to be ending it with telling Natalia how proud he is of her. Like, you don't know her like that, bro. I'm sorry, you don't. You don't.
Right.
I would say it was nice to meet you, or you handled yourself well, or something like that. But to say that you're proud, I don't know. Maybe I'm just old school and sorry, but not sorry. You just don't know people like that. Not, it's he was there to do an interview. That's very different than like a forensic psychological interview. It's different. Are we ready, girls?
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
Yes,
let's hit
ma'am.
it. All right, let's go.
The father of Natalia Grace. Greg, wants to tell us about the videos we're going to watch.
Yeah, more importantly, this is from British TV. And the interesting part of this interview is this is not long before he was charged with abandonment. And he had Natalia declared 22 by the courts. So he went to trial. And in October 2022, he was acquitted of child neglect charges. And 6 months later, his ex-wife, Christine, was also acquitted of those charges.
You are experienced, you and your ex-wife, Christine, experienced foster parents, so you knew the process. But this time, you were contacted. Did that strike you as unusual?
Good morning, Philip. Good morning, Holly. Thank you for having me on. Back then I should have noticed that something was unusual with this, but we were in the process of adopting a daughter and bringing a new person into our home. And some of those things that should have stood out to me, I really didn't recognize. So I'll give you an example. First off, we were looking to adopt a child out of Haiti, except a very large earthquake struck Haiti in 2010 in January. And we weren't able to complete our adoption for the girl that we had been connected with. So we waited for a little while, and then out of nowhere, we got a phone call from an adoption agent.
I'm gonna have to stop him right there already. I've always had a problem with the way he describes the adoption from Haiti and this adoption. This fool is acting like he is going through Craigslist looking to find a dog, a purebred dog. Do you know what I mean? We were looking for a lab, but we settled on a golden doodle. Like, get bent. I just don't like it. It always bothers me the way that he describes this adoption, both of them. It's just, I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. These are human beings. I wouldn't even talk about adopting a dog that way, frankly.
Also, hey, when I told you that, sorry to not to change the subject just for a second though. B Crumbs was another one that gifted, and I missed it. I didn't see that.
It's okay. I got it though, babe. I thank you though. I thanked.
Okay. Well, I just read Allie's in the chat, so I don't know. I'm all over the place. Anyway, there we go.
Are you getting up out there? Are you suffering from blood loss? We need to get Allie a tent, y'all. One of them, so she can sit outside and not get up. All right, here we go. Are we ready? All right, let's
yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna put the
Y'all got me saying yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Both of you.
No, you're Southern. There's nothing wrong with it. Be proud. All right, here we go.
agency in Florida, they had reached out to us and they said, hey, we've got the perfect child for you. We've researched you. We know all about you. We think you should adopt this girl, Natalia. At first, I didn't think that that was strange, but obviously looking back, you shouldn't be getting cold called. You shouldn't be getting a phone call out of nowhere from somebody trying to send the child to you. So when I got that phone call, it was Thursday, April 22nd, 2010. They simply said, hey, it's a closed adoption. We're not going to give you any information about the child. We're not going to give you any information about the former family. Here's all we're going to give you. Here's 2 pictures. Here's a Ukrainian language birth certificate. And here's 1 doctor visit from 2 years before. You have 24 hours to tell us whether or not you want to adopt her. If you don't adopt her within 24 hours, we're sending her directly to foster care.
Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, okay. So before we get into this one, Philip Schofield doing the interview there with Holly. Now, we know that Philip Schofield has himself in a bit of trouble at the moment. Let's put all that aside. We may well get round to Philip in the future and look at any interviews that he does, but let's put that to one side at the moment and look at the subject of the interview. Look, the story being told here in a very kind of rushed and energetic and pushed forward way is one of very kind of a forced sale technique. Cold call, we got a kid for you. By the way, we're under pressure for time. We've got a little bit of documentation. Doctor visited once. Give us your answer now. Give us your answer now. This is an experienced foster carer. Look, in my mind, if anybody ever rings you up out of the blue and says, I've done a bit of research for you and I think I have a child for you, and you've already got some children. Listen, I understand if you love having kids around or you don't have kids and you really have that need, I understand that the pressure to have somebody, to look after in that way and be yours. But here's some adults who already have some of that. I don't understand why they'd be taking this cold call and entertaining this. I wouldn't even do that with a dog, let alone a human being. So already,
Look at there, Jen.
my radar is on high
Already in
alert
my
as
brain.
to what on earth has gone on
Good
here.
luck up in
What
there.
on earth has gone on?
Lord.
This is already an extraordinary story. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but if it did happen, this is outrageous. Chase, what do you got on this one?
So you're watching this whole thing. You can see his blink rate is pinned to the top of the roof.
Yep.
And we blink more often when we're stressed out. Could be cameras, maybe something else. But blink rate stays extremely high throughout the whole thing. And now we're getting to see the other side. We did another video on Natalia. And this is, connected to that. And a great quote from Dr. Phil is, no matter how flat you make a pancake, there's still 2 sides. But I think what we're seeing here is the kind of guy
I
that
just love me
responds to
some
the
Chase. I
Nigerian
just love
prince
him.
with all that money that he needs to ship around the world. Greg?
Yeah, so let's watch this guy very closely because you're right, blink rate's through the roof, but he also does his closed eye talking, flutters his eyes down when he's talking. I'm going to tell you exactly the places he does it. And I also want you to notice, go back and watch, he does an eyebrow raise at the same time in some of those. So I'll say brow and closed eyes, out of nowhere, brow and closed eyes. Perfect child for you, brow and closed eyes. We have researched you, brow and closed eyes. We know all about you, brow and closed eyes. Closed eyes. We think you should adopt this girl. No brow. Cold call. No brow. Out of nowhere. No brow. That phone call. Brow and closed eyes. Date. Brow and closed eyes. So I'm suspicious of where he's got both of those combinations compared to where he's got just the part. The other part that's really interesting for me here is this is a river of information, and his intent is to overwhelm so he doesn't get interrupted. And it is a style and a personality. Instead of being chaff and redirect, is chaff and inundate, so you have no chance to get a word in edgewise, and he gets his story out. Now, does that mean he's lying? No, but it does mean I'm suspicious. First of all, of the Nigerian prince story, I was thinking the same thing, Chase, when you said it. And
Let me just tell y'all who else does that tactic. Tom Sandoval.
And then right at the end, he does a little contempt that here is all we're going to give you. 2 pictures of this kid, you get 48 hours. That sounds like a hostage situation, not like an adoption. Scott, what do you got?
I agree with you. Yeah, he's got a lot of information he wants to get out And the only way he's going to get it out is just by not shutting up, just by go, go, go,
Oh,
go,
he
go.
does,
That's what he
Wilby.
thinks anyway.
Blink and blink,
He
blink,
has
blink,
more
blink,
ticks
blinkety
than
blink.
anybody we've ever seen on here before. He's like a tick bank. He's got like that eye thing going. And I think that's actually a tick.
That's
I think
hilarious.
I used to know somebody that did that. And it wasn't just like when Chase talks about people being smug. This guy's not being smug talking like that. I think it's just a habit he's got. It could be because he's nervous. That's for dang sure. But I think that's more of a habit. I think it would be part of his baseline. It may not be when he's talking to his wife, but when he's talking to other people, I think we may see a smaller version of that.
When you've got a YouTube show, you kind of get used to people knowing information about you. In fact, if I Google my own name, lots of information comes up about me, but that's information that I'd like you to see. Also, information might come up that I don't want you to see. And so that's what I want to talk to you about. And our sponsor, Aura. You see, data brokers are really happy to sell your identity.
Okay.
Hard for you to do that.
Go give this a check out when you're done.
All of you.
When we're done with this.
Experienced foster parents, so you knew the
One of those tape replays.
You are experienced, you and your ex-wife, Christine, experienced foster parents, so you knew the process. But this time you were contacted. Did that strike you as unusual?
Blink, blink,
Good
blink,
morning,
blink, blink.
Philip. Good morning, Holly. Thank you for having me on. Back then I should have noticed that something was unusual with this, but we were in the process of adopting a daughter and bringing a new person into our home. And some of those things that should have stood out to me, I really didn't recognize. So I'll give you an example. First off, we were looking to adopt a child out of Haiti, except a very large earthquake struck Haiti in 2010 in January. And we weren't able to complete our adoption for the girl that we had been connected with. So we waited for a little while, and then out of nowhere, we got a phone call from an adoption agency in Florida. They had reached out to us, and they said, hey, we've got the perfect child for you. We've researched you. We know all about you. We think you should adopt this girl, Natalia. At first, I didn't think that was
That should
strange,
have
but
been
obviously looking back,
Right.
you
huge red
shouldn't be
flag.
getting cold called. You
Right.
shouldn't be getting a phone call out of nowhere from somebody trying to.
The thing is how are you going to say you're an experienced foster parent
So when we got
and
that
then
phone call,
accept
it
this
was
level of
Thursday, April
cockamamie
22nd,
bullshit?
2010.
Right. I mean,
They
that's just
simply said,
literally
hey,
trying to
it's a
sell that
closed
kid onto you,
adoption.
and there's a reason
We're not
behind
going to
that.
give you any
Correct.
information about the child. We're not going to
Correct.
give you any
And if
information
I'm
about the
not
former's
mistaken,
family. Here's all we're going to give
I
you. Here's 2
believe
pictures. Here's a Ukrainian language birth certificate.
that
And here's one
he
doctor
has
visit from 2
since
years
recanted
before. You have 24
the
hours to
name
tell
of
us
the
whether or not
agency
you
that
want
he
to
claims
adopt
that
her.
he got
If you don't
Natalia
adopt her
from in
within 24
Florida.
hours,
If
we're
I'm
sending
not
her directly
mistaken.
to
Oh, we
foster
lost
care.
Allie.
You went ahead and you
Oh,
met
really?
her.
I didn't know that.
You said
Yeah,
it was also
I've
unusual.
been doing a deep
Yeah.
I've been doing a deep dive into Michael and Christine because I want to understand who they are, and that's going to be part of the part 2 of the of this. It might be 3 parts. I might do Michael, Christine, and then also the Mans. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but here we go.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had never met her before. My family, Christine, myself, my 3 sons, we were
He's
sitting
so
in a
creepy.
little itty bitty office room in a strip mall. And next thing you know, the door opens and Natalia comes running.
What'd you say, Allie?
He's so creepy. Like his whole vibe. As soon as he started talking, as soon as this just started, like I don't know, he just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I think it's like that guy said, the way he tries to like overwhelm you. It's like his personality. I don't know, the way he's telling the story. It just he gives me
He's
the
very
worst.
dramatic.
He's very dramatic, and it's an overwhelming amount of
Yes.
information. And I think, for one thing, that it is a tactic. I've seen several people do it, but the first person that comes to mind, right, just off the top of my head, that does this is like Tom Sandoval. When he wanted to tell his version of what went on between him and Rachel, it was like a burst of information real quick, and if anybody would try to interject or ask a follow-up question, his tone got louder, his volume got louder, his tone got more stern, because he just wants to get out what it is that he wants to get out with no interruptions. And that's what homeboy here is doing.
Right.
It's very annoying and unnerving.
Yes.
And also the Lamborghini in the driveway, although I don't think that one's a Lamborghini. Whatever the yellow car is, doesn't even run.
And smiling ear to ear, saying, "Mommy, daddy, mommy, daddy,
Night,
mommy,
Seth.
daddy." You know,
I
she was
see
just
you.
given
Good
up
night, Seth.
for adoption by her old family 5 minutes before that. We should have recognized that there's no 6-year-old on the planet that would be happy in this situation and immediately start referring to Christine and myself as mommy and daddy. We only were in the room with her for 5 minutes to meet her. And after those 5 minutes, the adoption agency pulled Christine and I out of the room. We went and signed paperwork. And the next thing you know, Natalia was ours.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
So if we want to know if emphatic language runs in that family between him and Christine, now he says, this child ran into the room. Really? Really? With her disability, she ran into the room.
Thank you,
We've seen how
Greg.
she moves. This eye closing at facts does appear to be part of his baseline. When he did close his eyes to do that, what's interesting is he only changes that closed eye baseline one time in this entire clip. It's when he says he's only in the room for 5 minutes and he does mesmerizing eye contact. Look, this guy came to tell a story, and if you listen to his timed inhale breaths, it makes me wonder, has he pitched this, scripted it, done something to be able to come here? And then he does contempt or disdain, something in the side of his mouth there. When he says he was only in the room for 5 minutes, his voice changes, and he does a distaste move when he says now Natalia was ours. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Now Natalia was ours. So there's an ownership piece there. Doesn't name the sons, by the way. I understand there may be.
Hey, I gotta let Nestor out. Can y'all girls hold down the fort for me real quick?
We got you.
Okay. All right. We're just gonna let it play. Then we'll come back and discuss.
Be some legal reasons or personal reasons for not naming the sons, but it's interesting how some people are not named. There's objectification of a human being being yours. It's kind of interesting. By the way, that closed eye talking that goes on, there's a specific neurotype that will often do that because of the overwhelm of information, of input coming in. Something will come up in a couple of videos' time around that might make sense of some of that as well. Some erratic eye accessing, it's just, what does that mean that it's erratic? Well, I mean, there's a lot of stress and a lot of data being bought from all kinds of different areas. There's a great hurry to get this story out. I mean, it's even agitating me and getting me to present it to you in this way. It's quite agitating, and I think that's purposeful. So we as an audience are on a fast track on this. We are on a runaway train around this story. And again, I think that's on purpose. Chase, what do you got on this one?
I think what's happening here, you're either seeing a fear of being interrupted or a fear of being questioned. And that's typically when you see people speak like this. And it could be because of stress. I only have this much time to convince people and show people what happened, anxiety, or deception. I'm not sure that entire story was deceptive. I think there were some serious elements of truth to it. But I think when you have a person, like Mark, you said, who is easily overwhelmed, this makes them a prime candidate to instantly become suggestible to the max when scarcity is applied. They're hyper responsive to scarcity tactics, which was done perfectly in that situation. Scott?
Since this is the first time we're watching these, Chase and I, because of some things have come up, we haven't been able to watch them. When I'm watching this, you're right, Mark. I can't sit still. My heart rate's up. I'm breathing heavy. I think what's happened here is I think we're seeing the same thing the guy did on the phone. That's what we're seeing from him. I think that's what you're alluding to, Mark, or was it one of you guys were? That was what you're alluding to, because it's just this bang, 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 hey. And it's really overwhelming.
Thank you, Carol.
In there. Plus, you put all his ticks in there, man. And he's like his own show. If you saw this guy, you'd say, "Come here, let me show you something." what? You open the door and be going, hey, and doing all that stuff. And you say, and then shut the door and go, isn't that the weirdest thing you've ever seen? That's how strange that is. That's how many, that's the way it looks like to me anyway. It's what it looks like to me. So I think it's rehearsed. I think he's trying to get out everything he can possibly get out. I'm seeing deceptive cues in there, but I'm seeing things that let me know he's being honest and that he's concerned. I think he's got a lot going on. There's a lot of thought going on up there. I don't think it's like I'm shaking my own head as he's thinking those kind of things. I think he's thinking, I've got to get everything out. I've got to get everything out because listen how fast I'm talking. This guy's got me all worked up. But I think I think he's trying to get his story out. But I'm not so sure he's not exaggerating there just a little bit.
One of those
He's
tape
overselling
replays.
his story.
You went ahead and
he's
you met her, and
overwhelming
that
with everything
meeting,
he
you
pours
say,
out.
was also unusual.
Yeah, he definitely is. Hey, crazy mama.
Yeah,
I don't have my
absolutely.
phone, so I
So
can
we had
see
never
the
met
chat.
her before. My family, Christine, myself, my 3 sons, we were sitting in a little itty bitty office room in a strip mall. And next thing you know, the door opens and Natalia comes running in, smiling ear to ear, saying, "Mommy, daddy, mommy, daddy, mommy, daddy." She was just given up for adoption by her old family 5 minutes before that. We should have recognized that there's no 6-year-old on the planet that would be happy in this situation and immediately start referring to Christine and myself as mommy and daddy. We only were in the room with her for 5 minutes to meet her. And after those 5 minutes, the adoption agency pulled Christine and I out of the room. We went and signed paperwork. And the next thing you know, Natalia was ours.
You take her home. What were the
Natalia was
alerts that were triggered when?
I don't think that he's like, I don't know. To me, he comes off as exaggerative, but there are parts that feel honest, that feel too like his expression or his tone. I don't know. So I think that he's exaggerative, but I think there are parts that are definitely true, which is kind of what they said. But yeah,
I agree. I think I feel the same way.
I think I agree with you girls too. I think there are some parts of his story. There are like who was there. That's true. I think that the part about not running, she wasn't running. That didn't happen. I mean, they've taken a ton of home videos of her, and I've never ever seen her run. Maybe a fast walk, but definitely that you could not mistake it for being running. I mean, at all. And especially back then because she hadn't had the surgeries. So the other part of it I wanted to tell everybody that I forgot to tell you guys the other night is the way y'all have got to watch this documentary or docuseries, because a documentary is just one long thing. This is broken down into like 5 or 6 episodes. It's the last episode. It is the way that the last episode ends. And I don't want to give it away for you guys because I want you guys to be able to watch it. That has just not sat right with me. And there is, when I do the part 2, because I want to talk about all this stuff that's going on with Brian Kohberger. I've not said anything about Kohberger for a very, very long time. And I've been keeping an eye on it and I've been watching it and I'm very frustrated and I got to get it off my chest. It's on, I've learned a lot. You can get it on YouTube. You have to pay for it. You can get it on the ID network,
the ID.
Discovery Plus, and Max has it. And BBC. All right, you guys ready? But
I want to say this real quick though. Here's my
Absolutely.
thinking on him, and it may be an unpopular opinion, but here is my theory on what went wrong with him. Now look, he's a creep. Don't get me wrong. He's the cringiest male I've probably ever. I don't even know how he got married a second time. I don't know what she was thinking to marry this man. I mean, it's just that cringe. However, I think that when Natalia was adopted, I think his heart was in it at the beginning. But I think that Christine is the devil. I think he was so heavily manipulated by her that he believed everything she said. She developed this hate for Natalia. And I think that he picked up everything. He bought everything Christine was selling, which in turn made him treat Natalia awful, which I think I think Natalia was, into some fuckery herself. But I think that he at first was invested. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
then it went sideways.
Do do you guys think that her age is correct, or could it be slightly off and not?
I think it's slightly off. I do.
I think it is slightly off. I do not think that she was born in 1989, though. If I had to guess,
That's
I
your
would say that they aged her down about 2 years. So I think when the Barnetts adopted her, they were told that she was 6, and I think that her true age was closer to 8.
Okay.
And I think that when she was probably 10, 11 is when she was in that very first apartment, and 12 and 13 when she was in that second apartment. Because
Oh.
there are some things that the neighbors talk about that happened in that first apartment that it's like she had no awareness of social cues the way that children do, how they have to learn that if, like you teach your kids when they go over to somebody's house, they want to ask their friend to go play. They are just supposed to knock on the door. And if the person doesn't answer, they're not supposed to stand there and knock on the door and ring the doorbell 50, 1100 more times. You know what I
Right.
mean? That
Right.
kind of stuff. And picking up when people are busy, social cues that if she were 22 years old, like they claim that she was, or 21, 22, then those would have been innate in her. And if she is the person they're claiming her to be, which is highly manipulative, that's they don't want their mask to show. So they would be even better adept at picking up social cues and
And there's
adjusting
the
their behavior.
well, and also, the neighbor, the issue with her pulling her pants down and trying to climb on top of that little boy. I mean, I've never seen a child that age pull their pants down and make sexual advances toward a child. You know what I'm saying? That is a
Right.
child. I mean, that's just this whole damn family just weirds me right out. Like they're just all of them are fucked up. But I just can't imagine her being that correct, the age that age being correct, and she was doing the things that she was doing that shouldn't enter a child's mind. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But I think that so there has been other stuff that has come out, obviously, since this story first broke. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the way that the documentary or docuseries makes it out to be is that essentially Natalia only had two homes. Well, three if you count the orphanage. So she came from an orphanage in the Ukraine. Then she went to the first family, and then she went to the Barnetts, and that's not accurate. She was with another family prior to the somewhere in between or before the first family, and then the Barnetts, the DePauls had her for like 2 years. And she was introduced to other before she went to the Barnetts, she was introduced to another family, and they came and visited her. And this is hard for me to talk about because I don't want to give away the ending of the documentary because I don't want to spoil it for people. But when you watch the end of the documentary, there is something in there at the end. And when you hear it, you'll remember me saying this and you'll be like, oh, that's what she was talking about. I think something else was going on prior to maybe the Barnetts even getting her. And so I think that is what caused the behavior that you're talking about, Truth Teller, when she was at
Modine,
the apartment.
I know Modine is being funny, but I want to say something to. He said they can figure out how old dinosaur bones are, but not Natalia. I don't think that they talked about this in this latest series, but I remember back when I dove into this. Did they not do like some kind of a bone test or something to determine her age?
Yes. So my son had this done, my oldest son. You can have what's called a bone age done, okay? And it depends on how old the person is when they have it. There's a lot of factors that go into it. The better the person is who's giving the bone age test, and the better the person is at reading the bone age test. So what they are looking for are a child's growth plates, and there are growth plates in their wrists. And what they're looking for is how much space there is. And that gives them some idea. It's not a completely, it's not a completely,
It's not
it's
100%.
tool.
Yeah.
Right. It is only a tool in a series of things.
I don't
use.
remember what I can't, that's been so long, but I do remember that test determined that she was older than her, what she was told,
they had her at 8.
Yeah.
Instead of 6.
Yeah. Oh, was it 8? Okay.
Mhm.
I think, Patricia, I think you misunderstood Jen, because you guys are agreeing. She said she believes she was a child, but yeah.
I think Allie cut out.
Sorry.
You cut out, babe.
Oh, shit. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Okay, I was just saying, Patricia, I think, misunderstood you, because when you said the social cues, that you were saying that you believe she was a child because she didn't know social cues, and not that she was an adult. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think,
yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the stories that the neighbors tell are stories that are indicative of a child's behavior, not an adult. And
I misunderstood you. I disagree with that.
Yeah, see, I think that there are some of the stories that these neighbors tell, like that basically that she was, I don't know, that a better way to say, I mean, I know a better way
She
to
was
say this.
deleting phone numbers out of her. I mean, deleting messages from her phone and things that children, it wouldn't cross their
Well,
mind.
see, she didn't do that. They did it.
No, he removed phone numbers. She was deleting other things. From what I remember from the series, she was hiding things, and not just with the phone, but she was hiding things, and she was, going in these people's homes and hiding. And I mean, just like that neighbor that came in and found her inside her house. I mean, and would just sit and wait on them to open the door. Or, I mean,
that part of it, that's the sitting and waiting, to me sounds like a lonely child.
That's so sad.
It's sad to me.
Oh, it's a sad story all the way around. I agree.
It's a sad story. I think that's my argument, is that her birth certificate, Team Psych Ward said that she was born in 2003.
Yeah,
and
I don't
there
believe
are Facebook messages between Christine and Michael, and they're the ones that are deleting the contacts from her phone. They reset the phone for her so that she could not contact the social worker that was investigating her in the very first apartment. Look, I'm going to tell y'all what I think. What I think is this. I think that the Barnetts had her aged up because, quite frankly, they wanted to move to Canada to be with their prodigy oldest son, and Canada was not going to allow Natalia in under their immigration policy. And I really think that it boils down to that. I think that it's more for Michael. I think that it's a lot more complicated when it comes to Christine. I think Christine, her heart was never in the right place. I don't think she ever wanted to adopt a child and give a child a loving home and make it a better place for this child. No. What I think was she wanted something to pad her resume, as it were, as a mother. She'd written that book, The Spark, about nurturing her son with autism and all of the things. And she wanted a special needs child because she thought it would make her look better. And I think that she wanted, when Natalia wasn't what she thought she was going to be and couldn't be made to what she wanted her to be, I think that's when it became adversarial between she and Natalia. But I do think that Natalia was a kid. That's what I think.
agree with you about Christine. All of that about her, I do.
I gotta watch it. I don't have an opinion. I just have I've watched a little bit, and I have an opinion on the behavior panel, of course, as we're watching. But like as far as that, I don't know. I need to watch this series to know more. But it's crazy because I go back and forth watching and listening to you guys. Isn't there something about a period? And
yeah, that's another thing. She had, when they brought her home, she had pubic hair when they gave her a bath. I mean, it's just so much is just wrong with. What did you say, Jen? Her birth certificate said 2003 or 4?
Yes, 2003. September. She was September 4th, 2003.
Yeah, see, I think that's.
I'll say this also, as far as the period and the pubic hair goes. The problem I have with the story is that Michael is extremely exaggerative and histrionic. So it's very difficult to tell whether he is talking about what the exact situation was there. And the fact of the matter is, she would have been on medications that it's very, very possible that could have caused her to have hair, to be hairy, period. As far as the period goes, there are situations. There are they say that girls who drink the school milk tend to start their periods earlier because of the hormones in the milk. And
I wouldn't even argue about the period because these days girls are getting them a lot sooner, and but the hair is what's struck me.
Well, that's the thing. We don't know what exactly we're talking about here, because think about it. When we women have little girls, when they're newborns, this does happen. It's not happened to me, but it has happened to other people, and they tell you about it in the hospital. Little newborn baby girls can have what looks like a period. It is the last of the mom's hormones leaving their bodies.
Yes.
And so things like this happen. Now, the mans who have Natalia now, who she lives with now, say that she has never had a period the entire time that they have had her. Now, granted, this interview.
Who said who's never had a period?
Cynthia and her husband, the man's family, the ones that took Natalia in after that second apartment in Lafayette. And I want to tell y'all, this interview had to be, this Dr. Phil, I think, was in 2019. No, it couldn't have been, because they weren't charged until 2020, right? Is that when the charges came out? It was right after this story broke and Michael and Christine were charged. That's when the Dr. Phil interview was. So that's been a minute. And she's saying at that point, Natalia's age is 16. That's how old Natalia says she is 16. So that's what's the deal. All right, let's keep going.
And you got her home.
Oh. The alert started before we even got home. That very first night, when Christine was giving our new daughter a bath, you know, she shouted to me, "Michael," and it wasn't just a shout. It was one of those tones of voice where you knew something was very wrong. I came rushing into the bathroom and I found Christine white as a ghost. She was truly shaken. I had no idea why. And I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And Christine simply said, "Look." And I looked down, and Natalia, at age 6, had full pubic hair. And she and I were absolutely stunned. And now we're very concerned and very worried. Is Natalia 6? Is she older? We start using Google and we start using the internet to figure out maybe how old this new adopted daughter is. That was day 1 before we even got home.
Greg, what do you got?
I'm just going to keep this one very simple. His cadence, his pitch, and his tone are different in this video than they are in anything we've seen to now. There's a dramatic delivery in his style. He extends those words with longer vowels to make sure you understand what he's talking about. I think he believes this. Whether it happened or not, we can't tell, but I think he believes it. Chase, how about you?
Yeah, I think he believes it too. And I think he deliberately used the word "our new daughter." So he was showing you their mindset at the time. In reality, looking back at this is not how he would currently
Chase
probably
said it. I
refer
believe
to
it.
her at all. And how was she naked before you even get home? I was wondering about that. When did that happen? That might be some interesting point there. Mark?
Yeah, so certainly he is dramatizing this story. He's slowed down for being a really good storyteller now. He really over enunciates and puts some real depth and emotion into that look. And there's wide-eyed stuff. I mean, it is quite melodramatic. There's almost an element of kind of musical theater to it, a little bit of comedy, something quite frivolous almost about it. So, you know, it's interesting how he knows how to draw our attention with a great flourish to the real inciting incident of this story, of noticing that this young child does not have some of the indicators of being as young a child as he might hope at this point. So incredibly dramatic storytelling there. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, you're right, Chase. He never calls the child by its name, by its name. That's really strange. And you're right. He's sort of, it's sort of like they've gotten a horse or a piece of pottery or something like that. It's almost like something like he was talking about earlier, like you were talking about, Mark. Excuse me, ownership of something. It's really odd. Excuse me. So he won't hush. He just keeps talking and talking and talking. I think that he just may be nervous. You know, I think he may be really nervous. But at the same time, I'm getting that feeling something's up with this guy. You know, I'm not sure what he's not being honest about in here, but something's not right with this guy.
One of those tape replays.
You take her home.
So I want to answer this, expound on a little bit more than what Truth Teller answered, because she's correct. She does get a Social Security check. But this is the part that I find very, very interesting. After the Mans, which is the second family that got Natalia, okay, that rescued Natalia, okay, from the apartment in Lafayette, Indiana. Okay. They say I'm going to leave it up to you guys, whether she was rescued or whether they're taking advantage of her. That's up to you guys to decide. But she lives with a second family. And one of the first things that occurred is that Cynthia, which is the mother, had Natalia go down to the Social Security office and change the payee to being her. It was Michael and Christine, one of them. I think it was Michael. It's not really clear from the docuseries who the payee originally was, But
because they were using that. I don't mean to cut you off, but the Barnetts were using that when they threw her out into an apartment to pay all of her bills.
Yes. But this is the part that I don't understand. If she's 21 years old, like you say she is, why does she need a payee to begin with? Let her manage her own money. Because according to the Barnetts, there isn't anything wrong with Natalia that would cause her to not understand how to manage her own money. Do you know what I mean? There's no delays there. So why does she need a payee to begin with? Why not give her the money?
Do we know though if her disability is if it was based on physical? I mean, because obviously physical, because she's physically disabled, but could it be mental too? I never heard that, because she's obviously got some problems. I mean, even if she's done nothing, take away the any bad from her, just the trauma from being tossed from orphanage to orphanage and the trauma she's gone through. I don't know. I've never heard that she doesn't have any kind of mental incapacities.
I can only tell you now. I'll say this. After, go ahead, Allie. Go ahead, babe.
No, you go ahead. I'll save it.
No,
I won't forget.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay.
It's about this, but yeah. Okay.
Okay. So after after Michael's trial, where he was acquitted, let me make this very, very clear. Only Michael was acquitted. Christine, after Michael's trial, when he was acquitted, Christine's lawyers petitioned the court to have the charges dropped, and it was granted. That's not an acquittal. They just dropped the charges. It's not like they can never charge her again. They can. The only person who cannot be charged again is Michael. That's what an acquittal is. Christine was not acquitted. They dropped the charges. That's all I wanted to say. Go ahead. Oh, wait, but I forgot about that. So that's not all I wanted to say. So after that happened, the Tippecanoe County Prosecutor's Office released a bunch of documents pertaining to this case, and they are the documents surrounding her adoption, the documents with respect to her birth mother, the documents from the Ukraine with her birth certificate and stuff like that. I have seen pictures of the documents. I'm trying to find where they are actually located, where they were released exactly to, or if it's one of those situations where I have to do a FOIA request. That's what I'm curious about. I would like to get my hands on the actual documents. I don't want to see pictures of them and they're only in parts. If the documents are there to be seen by the public, and they're supposed to be, according to the Tippecanoe County Prosecutor's Office, that if the public saw these documents that they released, it would change their minds. So I need to get my hands on those documents. Okay. Allie, what you got?
I was going to say, isn't adoption quite expensive? Like, even if you do it from Asia or even the Ukraine, or usually you hear that it's very expensive. I don't know. And did they pay to adopt her, or?
They did.
Yeah, it wasn't something like $20K or something. They I can't remember. I remember hearing. For some reason 20 sticks out.
Okay, 20K. This is what I'll say. So the 20K comes from what I remember of the docuseries is the family that lived in Austin that was going to meet with Natalia before the Barnetts adopted her, and it was going to be
You're right. I remember
a private
that now.
adoption from the one family to the next family,
because they said it wasn't.
Yes.
It was. Yeah.
And they wanted to know why, after just a little while, you spent $20,000 to adopt this child. Why are you giving her away? And now, I do think that as part of the adoption process, if it's on the up and up, there are mental health evaluations, psychological evaluations. And one of the things, of all the things that the Barnetts talk about with respect to Natalia, and because they had her in and out of mental hospitals as well, and they never talk about any type of mental disability delay. They never talk about anything. They call her a sociopath. They said that she was diagnosed as a sociopath.
I was going to say, they spoke a lot about behavioral problems, and so.
And when she spoke on Dr. Phil, I didn't pick up on anything. There was nothing that was, immediate to me. So that doesn't mean anything because, but I've never, just because, I will tell you this. When Michael was on trial, prior to trial, there was a ton of stuff that was filed on his behalf from his attorney. And one of the things that he wanted admitted was the unsealing of all of Natalia's mental health records, which was a catch-22 for him because the state, he filed a petition, and of course the state said no. They didn't agree with it, and their answer was that no, we want. But this is how the charges came to be about a dependent versus a child, because the statute of limitations had run out, number one, and number two, because her actual age was in question, and since a court of law had determined that her birth certificate could be amended, and they made her 21 in 2012, right? That's what the judge said. So everything pertaining to her age came out or was taken away, could not be heard by the jury. So I would imagine that part of that would be, you can't see what the judge decided, whether or not he allowed those records, those mental health records, to be unsealed or not. I can't imagine that he would, given the fact that they were allegedly, that was before her birth certificate had been amended. And so at that point, she would have been a child. And if nothing can come in about her being a child, then I don't know if he would unseal those or not. I don't know how that went. But I just always thought that was interesting. Anything else, girls, before I hit play?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I know, Elaine, but that's what he said. I have to repeat it the way he said it. He said she was diagnosed as a sociopath.
And what were the alerts that were triggered when you got her home?
The alert started before we even got home. That very first night, when Christine was giving our new daughter a bath, she shouted to me, "Michael," and it wasn't just a shout. It was one of those tones of voice where you knew something was very wrong. I came rushing into the bathroom, and I found Christine white as a ghost. She was truly shaken. I had no idea why. And I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And Christine simply said, "Look." And I looked down, and Natalia, at age 6, had full pubic hair. And she and I were absolutely stunned. And now we're very concerned and very worried. Is Natalia 6? Is she older? We start using Google, and we start using the internet to figure out maybe how old this new adopted daughter is. That was day one before we even got home.
But then things got a lot more sinister, didn't they? And just explain the frightening things that you woke up to and the things that she began to do.
Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. So after that day, when we had the play date with another girl with the exact same kind of dwarfism that Natalia had, and supposedly at the exact same age, you knew immediately these two people were nowhere near the same level of maturity.
Good night, Seth. Thanks
and then
for being
when
here.
the Ukrainian woman began speaking to Natalia in what was supposed to be her native language, which Natalia has never had an accent her entire life, she got very angry and very upset and began to lash out. The first steps were smaller. She would put thumbtacks face up on our stairs So when we would walk up and downstairs, we would be stepping on thumbtacks. Certain things would start to become missing in the home. We would find knives under her bed. And then after a short time, there was a moment when I woke up in the middle of the night and Natalia was standing over my bed with a knife in her hand, very blank look on her face. And she's just standing there with a knife. Shortly thereafter, she began to attempt to harm my sons in a very serious manner. My wife, Christine, would take the entire family, my 3 sons, along with Natalia, downtown to university. My oldest son was attending university at a young age, so the entire family went. And as they would be crossing a street, Natalia had already found something that meant something very important to each of my boys. My youngest son, who was 6, was into cows,
I'm
so she
done
found
with
his
you for
favorite
the
cow
rest
toy.
of the night.
My 9-year-old son liked cars, so she found his favorite car toys. And my 11-year-old son
Look
was
at Mom's
attending
comment,
university,
y'all.
so she had gotten his homework out of his backpack. As they would be crossing a very, very busy street, she would make sure that the boys were paying attention, and she would launch everything up into the air, into traffic. Now, Holly, to you and I, if something important to us is going in the traffic, we simply know, oh, that's gone. I'm not going to have that anymore. But to a 6-year-old boy, a 9-year-old boy, an 11-year-old boy, that's the most important things in their lives. All they know is they are losing it, and they must run after it immediately, and they would instantly run into traffic to try to retrieve their items.
Frightening.
Immediately thereafter, Natalia would simply tell us very coldly and very directly, I'm trying to kill the boys.
Chase, what do you got?
So one thing we see here during these pivotal moments when he's talking about how he felt is this downright eye movement, which we associate with it, recalling emotional events and emotional memories. But then later on, he's talking about the thumbtacks on the stairs and the bedroom scenario, and his eyes are moving in multiple directions, which indicates that he's probably being mostly truthful here. And I think this is genuine recall, the way that he's
Hold on, Jen.
describing it.
What?
For most of this stuff.
So I was going to say those things. I believe she did those things. Now, does that mean she's evil? Not necessarily. The child was starved for attention. She had been thrown from place to place, and she just wanted somebody to love her. I get that, but I do believe that she did a lot of these things. Now, he may be exaggerating on the severity of some of them, but for the most part, I believe that she did these things. You remember the when she put chemicals in the coffee, and or so they say.
Right.
But it was just so many different things that she did to try to harm them, and I don't know if it was necessarily to harm them. In her mind, it was just maybe a cry for attention. I don't know, but I do believe that a lot of these things they say she did, I believe that she did them.
What about the I'm going to kill the boys very coldly?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, interesting. Vanessa said she started the documentary and the dude's not right in the head at all. And I'm about to watch it myself. I have HBO Max, so I'm going to watch it there.
Good night, Seth. Yeah, he's definitely a different breed for sure. I mean, he's thrown off, but
completely off.
Yeah, but I do believe that there's a lot of truth in what he says. Exaggerative though. I mean, I agree 100% on that. He is very, very theatrical, but I just tend to believe a lot of that.
I mean, I don't think, I don't know. I'm going to keep playing it because I can't get my thoughts out correctly. So let me, he's got me thrown the fuck off now. Oh my God. All right, here we go.
I maybe saw one or two things that we might call a deception indicator. They didn't occur in heavy context. They didn't occur in a cluster. And based on what was being said at the time, especially in here, it was irrelevant, a detail, even if there was a cluster around it. So, yeah, I think this is mostly honest. Mark?
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you there. I think there's some information in there which is most likely happened. What's interesting for me is the huge dramatization of it. Yeah, he's on a TV show and it's got to be a good story. But why do you need to tell this story? What else is going on? What position have you got yourself into that you need to go on? Not only British TV, but my guess is he's not doing the rounds somewhere and telling this story internationally.
Sorry, Mark. I just remembered what I was going to say. Look, here's my whole problem with this situation. As the thumbtacks, etc., like that. Look, I don't know. Is it possible that she might have put a couple on the stairs? Probably. I don't know. Kids do weird shit.
Yeah.
But here's my whole question for this for the Barnetts. If you have a child who is threatening to unalive your other children, why don't you call the cops? If nothing else, to get a paper trail going. And the one time where law enforcement was involved is a time when there were other witnesses. And guess what those other witnesses said? It was Christine being histrionic, being difficult. First of all, Natalia couldn't have pushed her into an electric fence because the fence was off in that part of the pasture, number one. And Natalia is calm for the most part. And
well, that whole thing was ridiculous to me anyway, that part, because I mean, you've got a child with dwarfism and you're whatever, how tall she is. And I mean, that's ridiculous to even say she tried to push me into a fence. I mean, that was just stupid. Christine is, I think she's just an absolute psychopath.
Exactly. And the thing is that if all of the things that Michael and Christine, and let me just be very clear, Christine does allege some of these things. If you want to find her interviews, they are out there. I just am not sure how much I can play without getting some kind of reprimand from legal. But she says, for the most part, pretty much the same things that Michael is saying. She relays the story in the same way, but I'll tell you this: the words are the same, but the effect is completely different. Her effect, in my opinion, is very cold. She is the polar opposite of Michael. She is very cold. She is very matter of fact, kind of just point blank period about it, almost detached from emotion. She doesn't even sound frustrated, which I would, if somebody were lying about me, I would be frustrated and that would come out. He, on the other hand, shows all the emotions all at once, all the time. So for me, it's, there's a conundrum here. And the other part of that I'm having an issue with is Michael alleges that when Natalia was in a couple of the different psychiatric facilities, that she wrote that she was going to unalive the boys and put them under the shed or the deck, excuse me. I feel like, why didn't they keep her? Why is all of this in such a huge question? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how it is in Indiana, but in Florida, if you have a plan, it doesn't even have to be a good plan. It doesn't even have to be a plan that makes sense. It's the fact that you have a plan. That is enough to get you a Baker Act.
I agree.
How old was she when they got her the apartment?
So the apartment came in 2012. At that point, they had her birth certificate amended to be that she would have been 21. However, by going by her original birth certificate, she would have been 9.
Oh my God. Mm-hmm. How did they have it amended? Because of the bone? What happened with the results?
So what they did is they went before court, and Natalia didn't have any representation. It was just the Barnetts. And they presented some not because even the bone age wouldn't have made her an adult. I forget, the judge is the one that used the calculations based on what the family doctor had said, which was that Natalia was older than and that the Barnett family had been duped. Unfortunately, that family doctor is no longer living. And so the last thing that we heard from that doctor is in the docuseries. The detective from Lafayette calls and speaks to him, and basically that doctor is kind of walking back a little bit of what he said. But anyway, that is how they were able to get her um, birth certificate amended to be her birth year to be 1989. They just changed the year. They didn't change anything else.
Well, and it's also very telling to me that has not been reversed. I mean, she is still legally, her birth year is still legally 1989 at this very moment.
Yes. Yes.
So,
So
But I don't-
33, almost 34, or 33 or 34, or whenever,
Right.
depending on when she was born in the year.
Right. Because initially, there is, if you look in Tippecanoe County, you can find the where the man's tried to get guardianship over Natalia, and they are the ones that dropped it. And when they were asked about why they dropped it, they said that they were told it would be better to try to amend her birth certificate. And apparently they have tried to amend the birth certificate, but I guess it is a much more complicated process. In fact, a lot of people are even surprised that the Barnetts are able to do it so quickly and easily.
How old does she look now? Like, is she in this new documentary as her
Yeah. I mean, well, I'm trying. I think that they do show some pictures. I will tell you guys this at the end of summer. So I don't know what the end of summer is in TV terms. Okay, I can only tell you what ID channel says. At the end of summer is the follow up to this story. This is where it's Natalia's turn, and Natalia is going to talk about. I don't know how many nights it's going to be. I don't know how many episodes it will be, but the trailer for it is on YouTube. I'll find the link and I'll put it in the chat for you guys. But she is, and Allie, I bet Allie is the about the trial in Texas, babe, with the guy who the border patrol agent who killed his
yeah, I was watching it today.
the mother of his child and their child.
Mm-hmm. Today, her best friend testified, and a guy that he worked with. Yeah, it is really interesting. It's awful.
Natalia looks like she looks to me, she looks the age that they've got her pinned as.
33?
Mm-hmm.
She looks 33 to you?
She does. Her features. Now, but to me, when they got her, she looked older, not like an adult, but she looked much older to me than 8 years old. She doesn't look. You don't think she looks 33 now?
No, no. I don't think she doesn't look. Hold on, I can't type and talk at the same time. She looks to me, I don't know, 21, 22, maybe 25 at most.
You want me to pull up a pic? You want me to pull up a current picture of her?
Yeah, pull up a picture, because it's hard for me. The thing is, I would like to see a picture of her. And this is what makes it hard. Is that all the things that are out there of her are like interviews. So she is wearing makeup and the lighting is different. I would like to just see a natural picture of Natalia. That's what I want to see. All right, hold on. Yeah, this is the picture I was talking about.
What do you think, Allie?
Oh, well, that's not a very flattering picture. I'll tell you that right now. As far as she does look older in that picture.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think she could go anywhere between. I don't know. It's hard because where she has dwarfism, I think too, and I don't know, but I think she looks like maybe 30 to me, or
she does. I mean, here. Let's
5 and 30 in this picture, probably.
Let me. Here's the one.
The smile lines, which I guess some young people have those, but she has. You seen the lines? Sorry, TT.
No, you're okay. You're right. It's the that's what I noticed too, is the smile lines and just the natural aging that we all go through, that so this is a picture from when she was on Dr. Phil. And how long ago was that, Jen? 2000.
So this would have been 2019.
Okay. She looks younger there for sure. I don't know. I'll have to see and wait till I see her talking in this, and see her behaviors and stuff, I guess. But
so here's where, yes, Nonstop Mom. So here's where the conundrum lies. Okay. They did show her birth certificate. It is a Ukrainian birth certificate. They have tracked down her biological mother. Okay. All a DNA test is going to prove, which it did, is that this woman is Natalia's biological mother. It's not going to say. There's a lot of skepticism around the validity of the documents because they are from the Ukraine. But I will say this. One thing that I have not seen anybody dispute is Natalia's mother's biological age. And she was born in 1979. So if she had Natalia in 1989, she would have been 10, which, okay, that's thrown off. Is it possible? I don't know. It is, but maybe not. Which, if her mom got her period at 10, then Natalia having her period at 8 or 9 would make sense as well. You can't just, you have to have a period to get pregnant. It's biology. Okay.
Well, I'm not, let me be clear on this. I'm not exactly sold that she's 33.
Right.
I think she's at least 30. I don't know so much about the 1989 deal. I think that's a little bit of a stretch. So I'm with you on that.
Right.
I just think she's older than what they were told.
Right. But and this is the other part of it. Okay. Natalia is not her biological mother's only child. She's not even her first child. Natalia has an older sister. And I probably other siblings too, but I know for a fact that she has an older sibling because the discussion that the doctor in the Ukraine had with Natalia's mother was, Natalia, you already have one daughter. Natalia is going to need a lot of care, and these surgeries that she's going to need are very expensive and you cannot afford them. You should give her up for adoption. You are young enough, you can have another child. That's what she says she was told. And so how then, for Pete's sake, how old was she when she had her other daughter? Do you see what I'm saying? So I would say the problem here is that's one of the problems. This is the other problem. What did Natalia know? Does she know how old she is? Is she in cahoots, or was she part of being cahooted? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Was she just telling what she was told and she repeated the story? Or was she part of it? Do you see what I'm saying? It's very, very blurry and I can't quite figure it out.
Can I ask you guys, so she's doing a documentary too. Now, she's doing the same documentary, just part of it.
This is the second
Right.
part. Yeah.
The second
Okay.
series of it or whatever. But I'm saying she's a willing participant in this. Do they get paid? Her and the family. I'm just curious for the documentary.
Ooh. I don't know if they get an honorarium or not. Depends. I'm not sure. I don't know if they get compensation.
I wonder if it was through HBO Max or I don't know. I'm just curious. Not that it means much, but it is something I think about when I think about.
Well, I always want to know too. What are people's incentives and motivations? Do they have any? Are they saying this because it's the truth and that's the truth, and they just want their truth to be heard, or is there some other ulterior motive going on that we don't know about? Yes, you always have to question. That's part of questioning whether somebody is telling the truth or not. It's not just about what they're saying. It's about why are they saying what they're saying. Do you know what I mean? I agree with you. But see, the thing is that the Barnetts, they're the ones that are alleging that Natalia is the cahooter. She is part of it. Yeah, I just be now. Yeah, now I'm just making up words. She's cahooting, and she is the head
I'm curious the cahooting. I got tickled at that too.
She's a head cahooter. Like this was Natalia. They're comparing her to the orphan, which in the orphan, Esther is the head cahooter. It was all her scam. She's the one that came up with the idea, right?
Right.
So that's the deal. They allege that she is the one that is the mastermind behind all of this, which I think it's weird. It's different than, and I can't help but like draw little parallels with Gypsy Rose Blanchard, right? Where she says she didn't know her age, right? And you could argue both ways. It's very difficult to know for certain what is going on in somebody else's head and what they knew and when they knew it. It's very difficult. So
I think they're all thrown off, honestly.
They're all thrown the fuck off. Every single one. Ain't nobody in this situation right.
No.
At all.
No.
I totally lost the internet for like a whole 2 minutes. I haven't heard anything. Yeah.
She did have missing teeth. You're right, Elaine. She did.
Elaine, this is just a discussion. You're getting really worked up, and it's just a discussion. I mean, everybody has different opinions. This is just a discussion about the documentary.
And they're all, willing participants too. That's what I want to know.
That's right.
Are they getting paid and that kind of stuff? So.
And I have to say, I can't say anything about the Manns. I don't know them very well, and I've heard negative things, but I've heard negative things about the Barnetts. I will tell you, there was a part in the Dr. Phil interview that actually made me feel somewhat better about less skeptical about the Manns than I did in the beginning. So there's a part when Cynthia is talking about what she thinks the situation is. Okay. And she's talking about how Christine regarded Natalia as a burden. And she turns to Natalia and puts her hand on top of Natalia's arm or her hand and says, "I don't think you're a burden." And I watched that part a couple of times because I wanted to know, is she doing that for show as, oh shit, she's sitting right here, but I watched her do it. And then I watched Natalia's reaction to her doing it. And I thought that it was actually a genuine moment between them.
I think so too.
whatever the situation is, at the end of the day, Natalia seems to be in a good place and happy where she's at living with the Mans.
And
That
not
I
only
will say.
that, even if they're not the perfect family, they're the real MVPs for putting up with her ass, because I don't care. She's a terror in my opinion. She's been a terror. And now the Barnetts have obviously been a terror too. But I am convinced that this child has got severe mental issues, and they have put up with her or I shouldn't say put up, that's unfair. They have had her in their home as a family unit for how long now? 5 years? 5 years?
Since 2014.
Oh, has it been since 2014? Okay, I didn't know it.
Yeah, because they got her the first apartment they had her in was in 2012, and she was there for a year. So that would be 2013. And I believe that she was only in that second apartment for maybe less than 6 months before she met the Mans and they took her in.
Right. And I agree with this, Hockett. They're the best place she's been. So I agree with that. I think that whatever the situation is, it's the best thing that she's had so far. And she seems to be, if she's not happy there, she sure is putting on a good show, because she talks like she's very happy with them.
Yes, she does. She doesn't seem, I will tell you this, there are times when, and it's hard to say because obviously there are videos that were taken by the Barnett family, okay, but they've been edited by the production company that made the docuseries. And let me just tell you guys, there's a lot of things that you can do with editing. That little thing that I played for you guys of Michael is actually one scene, okay, but I chopped it up and I moved it around. It's not the way it actually happened. And obviously he doesn't make a monster growl in the actual documentary. I added that. So there's a lot of things that you can do with editing, but what I can say is there are a few times, and I don't know if this was intentional or unintentional on the part of the editing staff, but there are times when Christine is speaking to Natalia and you can she looks up at her the way a child who is being scolded and is confused about what they did wrong and they're not sure what the right answer is. She does have that face about her. Do I know if that's the way it actually went down? I can't tell y'all that. None of us are in that home, and there isn't anybody that is going to watch this documentary, watch the behavior panel, or listen to this live on replay now or when it's live that can say with 100% certainty this happened or didn't happen. This is the truth. This isn't the truth, because we're all only getting a glimpse.
Well, let me just say, I believe Chase. But no, really, you're right. I mean, nobody's ever this story is so convoluted. We're never going to know what actually, I mean, and there's so many secrets and lies.
Exactly.
Just like, when the son, spilled when the mic was still on, and that's when it was revealed that Christine was having him hold her down and pee on her on the bed.
Okay, so on the bed, not on her, just so.
Or yeah, on the bed. I'm sorry.
There is another story there's another thing that happened, Jacob, that Natalia relays. So Natalia had to go in for a forensic psychiatric for a forensic interview. Okay, which by the way, she.
Hold on. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the peeing on the bed, that was to make it appear as, or was that to punish Natalia? I can't remember.
Okay, so Jacob says that Christine told him, and he was a child when this happened too, that because Natalia had accidents or would go to the bathroom and play. Jacob puts it in a really odd way. He doesn't call it accidents. What he says is Natalia was urinating on things that she shouldn't urinate on.
And it
And
was to
so
punish her. Yeah.
it was, yes, it was the therapist told Christine to do this. And then that's what Christine told Jacob. I can't
can't imagine that.
imagine any therapist ever doing that in the world. That makes no sense to me.
They
But-
dropped the ball on her, because if anybody should have been prosecuted at it, if you could only pick one person out of this whole situation, she should have been it. She should have been prosecuted.
She should be. And I'll tell you this, that exchange in that docuseries is quite interesting, because what I find interesting about it is, I don't know if Michael is just thrown completely off all the time and doesn't remember that his son reiterated to him and repeated to him at least 4 times that his mic was still on when they were discussing this incident. But then here comes Michael in his recliner, relaying a story as if we were not a party to it. We all heard what his son
Right.
told him, and he exaggerated what Jacob's reaction was. I know he says that he went to put his arm around Jacob to comfort him, because Jacob at the time would have been 12. Okay. And that Jacob swatted his hand away. Now, y'all, they left that hot mic moment in the documentary for a reason. Don't you think that if there was more to that hot mic moment when they were discussing it and there was a slap away, that we would have heard that, because they would have left that in? Of course they would have. So that's where, for me, anything that Michael relays is problematic, because he's lied. So when you lie to me one time, then you're a freaking liar.
Right. Elaine, she's not a child anymore, regardless of whether or not her age is right on the birth certificate or it's not. Either way, she's not a child anymore.
I'm confused about this too, Elaine. Quit damaging this child. I don't care how much you want drama from your channel. This is still a young girl. Grow up. What drama would I be bringing to my channel? Which, if you knew anything about me or the channel, I loathe drama. So I don't want the drama for the channel. We're having a discussion. This discussion that I'm having in this chat room right now with all of you fine people, I can guarantee you is no different than any conversation that's gone around all over the world, because people are watching this documentary and asking the same things that we're all asking. I've been more critical of the Barnetts than I ever have at Natalia. And I've been patient, and I've let you express your opinion. Hold on, just one. Sorry, Allie. I don't mean to cut you off.
No.
I've been patient. I have allowed you to express your opinion multiple times. But what I won't put up with is disrespect. And saying that you hope she sues my ass out or off or whatever it was that you wrote is inappropriate, honestly. And it's disrespectful as fuck. And I don't treat anybody like that. And I don't appreciate being treated like that. Nobody's bullying her. We're having a discussion. I haven't said anything negative really about Natalia. I've said all kinds of messed up stuff about Michael and Christine. I don't know what the truth is with Natalia. I don't know her as a person. I can only tell you what I've watched and what my opinion is that I've watched. I don't think that she is a sociopath or a psychopath. I don't think any of those things. So I don't know what you're talking about. And I don't know who I would be bullying.
They're literally promoting for her part, like putting out teasers for her part of a documentary. Do you trust me? They are not upset that people are talking about it.
Absolutely.
So
you're right, Allie. I mean, that's why this aired. That's why she's going to be a part of it.
Well, I agree. I mean, the deal is she wants to talk about her story, right? She wants her story to be out there, and she's going to do this part 2, and we're all going to hear it, and we're all going to have an opinion, and we're all going to think and perceive what she said differently. That's part of the human experience. So I'm going to take Natalia off the screen and add the behavioral panel back to the screen. And let's finish this because we only made it halfway.
We always do this.
Always. Let's continue. I'm sorry that you're so disgruntled, Elaine.
I would imagine, because
Not disgruntled.
in the UK for it. He must be doing it
She
everywhere right
I'm
now.
sorry that,
Oh my goodness!
I'm
yes,
sorry that you're disgruntled, but we're going to continue to watch the behavior panel. You're free to continue to watch with us if you'd like.
absolutely. He says, and that frames beautifully the high drama of this. Well, is it? I get the stuff about throwing stuff in the road. Yeah, there's somebody there who is really testing the boundaries, being utterly precocious and malicious, no doubt, as can often happen in foster homes. I mean, it's usual thing. The thumbtacks. Well, look, my kids have been leaving Lego around, and so I mean, the amount of times I have almost died due to stepping on, or it felt like that at the time.
Mark
or
is
I
not
lost
wrong.
my footing and almost did, hit my head on a glass coffee table.
I would much rather step on a thumbtack than a Lego barefoot. I'm just saying.
Call them sociopathic nightmares because they leave, Lego or thumbtacks the wrong way. Of course they do. The moment, if your kid has got hold of thumbtacks, I'll tell you exactly what is going to happen. You are going to step on one. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay. So don't have them in the house if you have kids. The knife story, I'd be saying, look, tell me more about that, because I want to know the exactitude of that. All these knife stories, that's important. You got a kid with a knife, at the end of your bed. Like, give me the detail on that one. Well, then we get the revelation, my 11-year-old son who was attending university. Okay, so if that is accurate, then we have somebody who is savant, who is a genius. Okay, is this his genetic son? Because if this is his genetic son, then most likely he himself is on the spectrum as well. Okay, so now we've got a potential for a neurotype here, which
Jen.
helps us understand.
Did he just say that
he
he's
might be
savant?
showing
I
some
didn't
of
know
these
that. I
behaviors.
mean, I knew that he was on the spectrum, but
I don't know what criteria to be a savant is required, but I will say this. Jacob would have been like 13 or 14 when they were supposed to go to Canada, and when they did go to Canada, and it was not just for him to attend university, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was actually intended to teach. So, yeah. He is a genius. I believe that he has an IQ that is higher than Einstein. He's incredibly intelligent. I mean, the way he was doing those equations, I mean, it blew my mind.
I knew he was very, very intelligent. Isn't it? Is it savant? Isn't that the ones though, like Rain Man, that they can like recall? Like if I say, what day of the week was October 7th, 1939, and they can say Monday, or am I thinking of the wrong? This is somebody that's very skilled in like numbers, and
he's very skilled in numbers. That
Okay.
He does know, and the pi goes on forever after the decimal point, and he knows all the numbers after we all know 3.14, but
Okay.
Jacob knows every single number past the 4, where just us regular folks just remember 3.14.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
yeah, very, 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 he is incredibly intelligent. And I will say this, if whatever you believe, whichever way you land, whether you believe the Barnetts, whether you believe Natalia, whether you believe both, and the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I will say this: it's for me personally, it's I think that the people that come across the most genuine about who it's how they've been negatively affected are Jacob and Natalia, if I'm being honest. That's what I
Yes.
saw.
Yeah, I really felt bad for him in that documentary, in the series.
Possibly, but also this what seems to me an interesting mentality around already knew a family who had a child with the same growth condition, responds very quickly to getting a child with that condition. So now we've got an extraordinary 11-year-old, and now we've got an extraordinary new kid, which fits in with somebody else's extraordinary child. Well, there's an interesting kind of gathering, collecting in some ways of extraordinary people in this story, and I find that extraordinary, because it's not a collection. I mean, I collect, believe me, I collect, but not in this kind of way. Interesting. Scott, where you go on this one?
Yeah, I think the knife story, I don't think that happened. I really don't. I mean, it just sounds like that wouldn't happen. Little kid coming in there on the little walker she'd have to have, and then having a knife and stand there with it with a blank look on her face. No, for me, I'm not buying that one. And so how's she going to launch all their toys out in the middle of the road? She's with that disability. I think it'd be kind of tough to gather those up. How does she get them from if they're their favorite things? Here, let me have that little cow. Let me have this. Let me have that, and then throws them in the street. I think that would be kind of tough for her. So I don't think she can be launching anything with that disability. Maybe one thing, but I mean, she's going to have. He makes it sound like it's everything at once. So the kids are run out in the street. I don't see that happening. And if she did say, "I'm trying to kill the boys," maybe she was being sarcastic. Maybe she did say that. But maybe she's saying, I'm trying to kill the boys." Maybe it was something like that, because I just don't, that this doesn't ring true. It's about 50-50 in there for me. I mean, half of it sounds true, half of it doesn't. Half of it sounds deceptive. Greg, what do you got?
So a couple things, and I'm not trying to be funny here, but if I had somebody who was that height in my house who threatened me with a knife, I would put the knives up higher. She can't climb. Simple. I would stop that problem right there. It gets repeated here with these guys, though, for some reason. Okay, that's just a logic equation for me. But these guys are blustery. And when I say blustery, everything is giant. Mark, you would have fallen and hit your head and just barely survived it if you were him, because everything they say, she's standing over my bed. Again, this is big language. This is language that really doesn't fit the situation.
I mean, obviously, it cannot be literal.
Contacts is the first time we see his chin drop and cover his throat. Suspicious to me. It's the beginning of clusters. It's not a full cluster, but his behavior is so really up and down. And then he does a chin down at night again. Okay, why? Why is the chin down twice and it hasn't done anything like that now? Then you see that kind of face of persuasion, Mark, you did it earlier when you're thinking. You're looking like that. Narrowing of his eyes, a quicker nod as he creates this rambling. He attempted to harm my sons in serious ways. Not tried to kill my kids. The chin is no longer up now. And then he changes cadence. And for the first time, he does an in-breath and goes, as he starts to describe her throwing toys in the road. Those are changes and deviations in baseline that we've seen up to now. Don't know why. But then he uses chaff and redirect to get back. Now he's going to talk about his son so he can have a way to get his story out and still have a way to get back to something if he needs it. That's my opinion. I don't think this happened the way he said it. I think, yeah, Chase, were there attacks on the thing? Yeah, maybe. Did she have a knife? Did she say, "I'm going to kill you guys if you keep doing this to me"? Maybe. Probably. Could happen. Anger, all that kind of thing. And if your brain works like these people apparently do, me saying I'm going to kill you with this knife is the same as me holding it to your neck. So, everybody's a little different, but I think they aggrandize what's happening and they're more blustery than most of us would be. All I got.
Totally. One of those tape replays.
But then things got a lot more sinister, didn't they? And just explain the frightening things that you woke up to and the things that she began to do.
Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. So after that day, when we had the play date with another girl with the exact same kind of dwarfism that Natalia had, And supposedly at the exact same age,
All right.
you knew immediately
I
these two
wanna
people were nowhere near
tell
where they
everybody
started
while we
in the
listen to
story.
this part just the
And
one
then
more
when the
time
Ukrainian woman began
is
speaking to Natalia in what was supposed to be her native language, which Natalia has never had
the scene where what's interesting about Michael is in 2019 everything was Natalia's fault. Okay, that there you don't hear anything about Christine being exaggerative. You don't hear anything about Christine being manipulative. And I want to remind everybody that when he gave that those interviews in 2019 on the docuseries, they had already been divorced. They were divorced in 2014. Okay, so and that was tumultuous. That was like it was all the dramatics. Okay, their divorce was. It was not a friendly divorce. Okay, then when he is doing current interviews in 2021 or 2022 for the docu series, all of the sudden, Christine is the problem in the whole family. Before it was Natalia, now it's Christine, and he goes on to describe and act out physical abuse. And the problem I have with that is, why didn't he do anything? And
because he's a puss.
Yeah, but I
he's
mean,
a puss,
ugh.
straight up.
But it makes but this is my point to the whole thing is he has a fucking credibility issue because he changes his story too damn much. He lies too much. And now I can't believe anything that he said.
But he also said in the documentary that he basically said he didn't have the balls to stand up to her. Do you remember that part?
I do remember that part. I just feel like I don't know. I can't get my brain around being a human being, no matter how scared you were of another
I
human
mean, he's
being.
not a very masculine man anyway.
Yeah, but I'm not. I mean, I would, if it were me and I saw a child being abused, whether it was my child or somebody else's child, I don't give a rat's fat kneecap how big, strong, whatever the other person was. I would intervene. I would try to stop it. And I guess
agree.
I don't understand that. And there's something about that whole exchange that it's like it's convenient now for Christine to be ruling the roost and he is the one manipulative. But when you read the messages between the two of them, it doesn't sound like somebody is commanding and demanding of one person and then the other person is okay, yes, whatever you say. They cahoot. It's, you know what I mean? I don't know how to. I'm probably not coming
I see what you're
right.
saying, but I just see him totally different. He was her yes man. It was how she said jump, and he asked her how high. That's just that's the impression I get. He didn't have any balls whatsoever to stand up to her. I'm not saying that he's innocent by any means. I'm just saying if she said it, and I think a lot of hers was manipulation over him. He believed a lot. I think he's, come to realize some things since their divorce. But I just think she controlled that entire house. There's a reason why her children don't have anything to do with her, or her son. I guess the two do, but her son, the one that Jacob, he doesn't even want to talk. He don't even want to see her.
I mean, I believe that there is an element of that going on in the home. It's just that, and it's not that I don't believe that men can be manipulated and controlled by women or that men cannot be victims of domestic violence, because I do. All of those things are all possible and all of those things, do happen. There is something about him that comes across as disingenuous. Like it's convenient now for him to be blaming her, even if she is, which I think that she is, manipulative and demanding and commanding. I find that his level of being manipulative is the part that that doesn't ring true to me. I don't think he was as manipulated as he says that he was. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
And what would be the
I
point
just
of coming
disagree.
out with all of that? No, I know. I just don't. What would be the point of coming out with all of that now?
I just think he had this blind love for her, and I think she had this power over him. And just the text messages that were shown that shows how damn manipulative she was and how controlling she was, and the links she would go to sell her story. I don't know. I just see her as just completely evil, and I'm not discounting his part in any of this. I think, he was a piece of shit for the part he played too. I don't know. I disagree. I don't know, girl. It's a hard call because
It is. Because we're not getting to. This is a departure from the way how we usually discuss cases.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of documents that we can get our hands on to look at and to see, okay, well, this is definitely a lie, or this is definitely you know what I mean?
Right. And I get what you're saying too, that he defended her, 100% while they were married, and now he's throwing her under the bus at every turn. But I don't know.
Well, really, either way you have it, no matter what, at the end of the day, if she was physically abusing their kids, any of them, and he didn't do anything, really, he's just as guilty as her, no matter the reason, in my opinion.
Exactly. He's just as guilty.
But okay.
We don't have much longer to go. Let me skip past this part because there's really no reason for us to watch a part again. We know what he said.
Gonna have that anymore.
Why do they do that? Like, do the replay?
For us, they show it, they analyze it, and then they give it to us again so we can see what they see, why they came to the conclusion they came to.
Okay. The final time
At least so. Okay.
I know.
And then, assuming that this was a 22-year-old woman, did you have no contact at all? Did she decide she was going to look for you?
Sure. There's actually a couple of different answers to that question. So when the legal courts changed her age from 8 to 22, she then got her own apartment nearby where we lived, about 5 minutes away. She lived there for a year on her own while we lived by her. We visited her about twice a week. We hired a traveling nurse. Here in the States, we would call her a home health aide. And she was there to make sure Natalia was able to acclimate to the new surroundings, make sure she was capable of living on her own, in which she was. She was going to the grocery store. She was hanging up things in her apartment. She was capable of living on her own. When she was discharged from hospital the final time in 2012, she had stated in her discharge papers she did not wish to have contact with us at all anymore. Even though she had said that, for the next year, we made sure that she was able to live properly on her own and checked on her. After a year of living on her own, that's when my son got an offer to attend university in Canada. He was at the time 14 years old, going on 15. There was no way he was going to be able to do that on his own. So my family, we literally sold or gave away every single possession we had, except for our clothing and our cars.
Okay,
and we
hold
moved to
on.
Canada to support Jake's education.
First of all, let me stop you right there. When you say sold and or gave away all of your possessions, okay, gave away, like I feel like maybe you might have gave away, maybe some decorations you didn't want anymore, or some old sheets or some old towels. But y'all have been hurting for money for quite some time. So how come you haven't paid your tax bill? Why are you giving stuff away when you owe money on state taxes, sir? Give me a break. What a load of caca. Sorry.
At the time, Natalia's lease was up at her first apartment. Christine and Natalia went and found another apartment for her in a town called Lafayette, and it seemed to be a really good location for her. It was within 2 blocks of many services she could need. It's within 2 blocks of a bus stop. an adult education center for her to get her GED, which is an equivalent to a high school diploma.
Michael, we have to. I've
A
got
suicide prevention center.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, so he starts off by conditioning the question. Sure, there's a couple of answers. Of course there will be. And then he blame shares when the courts changed. Never mind, he petitioned the court to change her age, but he's blame sharing there. Not when we did it. And then when he starts saying nearby, there's that persuasion face again, that little weird face he makes. And he says she got an apartment in the first one. She didn't. They got it for her. You heard her say that. And then there's more chaff and redirect, more about his son and that kind of thing. He's explaining away some kind of this guilty behavior by making it about something else. Now, am I saying that he caused the problem? No, but he surely went to the courts. He surely put her out of his house. He surely put her in an apartment. And then he comes and says Christine and her got the second apartment. So how did she go get her first apartment and Christine and her got the second one? Those are questions I would ask because I want to know the details. He's doing that river of information with a bunch of chaff mixed in. Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, this is starting to sound like defensive talk to me. Like he's defending against something. He's either something's happened and he it's not out yet, and he's building his big wall of here's why I'm innocent, here's exactly what happened. Remember when Natalia was talking
gig's
about
up, buddy.
Their side or somebody's side. He's built.
This is the other thing that I find interesting. And then I'm going to probably just go ahead and let everybody go because the chat's getting tired. I hear Allie is getting tired, and we'll finish this up another night because we have Natalia's to go through too, and hers is like 2 hours. But what I want to point out here is that he tells this story about having a home health aide. Okay. Now, either everybody in the documentary that were her former neighbors talked about a home health aide and every part of that was edited out, or there was no home health aide, because I do remember several of those neighbors, particularly the couple that had children that were young, wondering if the reason that Natalia was unwashed or was wearing the same clothes frequently, repeatedly, day after day, is because she wasn't capable of washing her own clothes or getting herself a shower, which if she had a home health aide, don't you think they would have mentioned that at some point? Michael doesn't even mention it in that docuseries. He never brings that up.
Good point. Because I do specifically remember the neighbors talking about how she smelled really bad, and she would have the same clothes on for like days on end, 5-6 days, sometimes a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where did this home health, do you see, this is why I be side-eyeing the hell out of you, Michael. Because
Right.
you're just making shit up all the time.
I agree with Corky too. The apartment, regardless of her age, the apartment wasn't equipped for a person with disabilities. I mean, they just threw her in somewhere and left her.
Especially that second
Hey.
apartment. Yes.
Bentley just woke up like throwing up, so I'm gonna jump
Oh,
off of here
no.
and I'll
Okay,
message
babe.
you guys in a little bit. Okay.
Okay, I
Alright,
hope he
let
feels
me know.
better.
Hope
Okay,
he feels
thank you
better.
guys.
Love and
Bye,
kisses
guys.
to Bentley.
Bye.
Bye, babe.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye, babe.
But for them to just throw her in there like that, regardless of how manipulated he may have been by her or whatever, he still knew right from wrong. As far as, I mean, that was just wrong. He did some dirty shit, no doubt.
Exactly. And especially that second apartment, because the first apartment was not equipped either for a person with her needs. However, it was at least on the ground floor. The second place that they moved her was completely wrong for her. First of all, there was all those steps, and that was just to get up to the place. And then for her to get to her own apartment were a bunch more steps, which would have been dangerous. And the other thing is, how often were they checking on her at the other place?
He even admitted that the town that she was in had a horribly high crime rate.
Yes.
Transients were known to be in that area. The crime rate was outrageous. Why would you throw this girl into this place in that environment?
Right. She's already, take age out of it. Let's say she is an adult, just for argument's sake. Let's say she was every bit as old as that birth certificate, her reissued birth certificate claims that she is. That would be a dangerous neighborhood for people under normal circumstances. But her unique circumstances make her even more vulnerable.
Right.
And I think that is why they were charged the way that they were, because if you take the age out of it, period, it's not like they moved her into an apartment and she was on her own and they were 10 or 15 minutes or hell even an hour away. They were a whole entire country away. And and they weren't checking in on her because she did go through periods of time where she did not have electricity. And also she went missing for a few days and nobody knew where she was.
Yeah.
And they didn't even know. They were told by the learning annex. So like they just, I don't know, they, regardless of what her age was or is, they discarded her and just put her somewhere out of sight, out of mind, so that they could, do what they wanted to do when they wanted to do it. And it was wholly cruel to do a human being, period. Oh, excuse me.
I agree.
Just cruel. Absolutely cruel. All right. Well, I thought this was an interesting conversation.
Yes, ma'am. I enjoyed it.
I'm curious to see if they will do a follow-up with their more recent interviews or his more recent interviews. And then I know that they analyze Natalia too. And I'm curious, after she does her part of this thing, this docuseries, if they will then analyze her again and, that material. Because I would be curious to see if their opinions change.
Me too.
I'd like to see them break down that part where he's on the floor.
Oh, girl, that was
his dramatic reenactment. Y'all think I'd be doing a dramatic reading? This fool, whole dramatic reenactment.
Yeah, that was
something else.
That was a moment.
You ain't getting no Academy Award, Michael.
Well, thank you for having me up.
Thanks for being here,
I
babe.
enjoyed it.
I did too. All right, you guys. I will see you all lovely people tomorrow night. Thank
Good night,
you for
chat.
being here. Bye.
Bye.